Okay, I have just opened up Magic the Gathering Arena for the first time in like months. Um, I think probably months, yeah. And I wanted to talk about this deck. This is a deck I made myself that I used on the Historic Ladder for a long time, like um, probably 2 years, plus or minus a little bit or so, whatever. I've been playing this deck for a long time, and I actually don't know if it's perfect or not. But whatever. I haven't workshopped it too much. I did this thing for a little bit where I dipped into black for like Beseech the Mirror, but that was like fine. It was whatever. It was just like 4 more copies of Mizzix's in the deck, but it was harder because you had to sacrifice an artifact. We're not playing that anymore. So I'd like to talk about this one because it has been like my favorite deck to play on the Historic Ladder for a while. It is the 61 card special, so you know it's definitely not like fully optimized. Whatever, who cares? And it is an Emergent Ultimatum Mizzix Mastery combo deck. The end goal of the combo is to put an Omniscience on the battlefield and then cast Approach of the Second Sun twice. I know that Omniscience combo decks either are or were meta not too long ago, but none of them did it exactly the way this deck does it. I remember playing against a few that would like reanimate the enchantment as a creature and put it onto the battlefield. I don't actually remember how they did it, but I've never seen anybody play with like this list before, so that's cool. Anyway, let's talk about it. To start, Mizzix Mastery casts a spell from the graveyard. We want it to cast Emergent Ultimatum, which has to already be in the graveyard, which is why we have Otherworldly Gaze, Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, Discovery, and Thirst for Discovery. Those are all just to draw a bunch of cards, discard a few, and get the Emergent Ultimatum into the graveyard somehow. Once it's in the graveyard, we can hopefully cast it on turn 4 with Mizzix Mastery. And when we do, we're allowed to search our library for 3 different single-colored cards with different names. And then the opponent will let us cast 2 of those cards. That's cool. Every time we're going to find Omniscience, Brilliant Restoration, and Final Parting. There's a weird edge case where we might pick Invoke Justice if Omniscience is already in the graveyard, then we Invoke Justice is just Brilliant Restoration with a different name, so that we are guaranteed 1 spell to get it out of the graveyard onto the battlefield. We don't usually do that, but it is useful to have in the deck sometimes. Anyways, how that goes basically is either the opponent allows us to cast the Omniscience and we just put it on the battlefield, or they don't, and we use Final Parting to put Omniscience into the graveyard, and then Brilliant Restoration to put it from the graveyard onto the battlefield. So either way, no matter what they pick, we get the Omniscience on the battlefield. Once it's on the battlefield, we have Fae of Wishes. This is kind of, we need Fae of Wishes. Obviously we have a lot of digging, we can get to it. And we have a Solve the Equation, which can search for things like Mizzix's, things like Brilliant Restoration, whatever. Invoke Justice if we need it. But the point is, Fae of Wishes goes into our sideboard for us to grab Approach of the Second Sun. Once we cast it, it goes back into our library and we can find it with any of these methods. In some cases, we need a Ruinous Ultimatum or an Overflowing Insight. I've never been in a match where I needed a card that wasn't one of these 3, so I'm just keeping the sideboard like this for now. We have a bunch of flex slots. You actually only need to run 1 of each of these. 2 copies of Approach is probably good, just in case you can't get the second one back out of your library. And you just need to Fae of Wishes for another one. That's okay. But you could run just 1 Overflowing Insight and 1 Ruinous Ultimatum, and then have a bunch of like utility cards. We also run a couple super cheap counters because we want to just cast Mizzix Mastery on turn 4, like no matter what. And so we'd rather not delay it till turn 5, but if we have to, then we'll have access to a Swan Song. And a Pact of Negation is okay. We'll never have to pay the price because when we cast Mizzix, we plan to win that turn, so we'll never have to pay at the beginning of our next upkeep. Mana base is whatever. It's kind of just what I had. They are all untapped sources, which is important. And a couple of them, you know, whatever. It's red-white. We never... sorry, it's blue-red. Holy moly. We never actually need black mana, even though there are some black spells in the deck. Yeah. Let's play a game. Let's play it. So it has been a while. I have no idea what the historic meta looks like anymore. But hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's, you know, hopefully it's fun and not terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, this guy's named after the band. Okay, so this is not great. We could use the Fae of Wishes ability to put these into the graveyard, but then we have nothing to get them back with. So I'm going to mulligan. This is better. I'm probably going to keep this one and bottom the Invoke Justice. We can use these cards to do a lot of digging, and we already have the Mizzixes. So we'll keep this. Holy moly. Avatar. So we'll start with Discovery, and we will bottom both of those because we want a land, really. Great. Then we can thirst for Discovery next turn. This thirst is better, marginally. No way. He's gonna counter our thirst. Nope, no he's not. We'll discard Pact and Fae of Wishes. It's whatever. We'll do that. We could discard the Faithless Looting and then flash it back, but I don't wanna. Opponent, mono blue. That doesn't really bode well for us. You know, control decks beat combo decks most of the time. But we'll see. We do have a Pact in hand, so it could work out. We do want another land. We need another land that we can cast Mizzix, and we'll even have some protection up. Interesting. So target creature, shuffle this creature. Okay, whatever. That's no good, so we'll flash back a Faithless. Okay, maybe they're not playing control and they're just playing some like flash deck. We will discard a Final Parting and a Swan Song. And we'll just drop this down. Next turn we will have we'll be able to play Mizzix and we'll have a Pact and a Swan Song up, which will be awesome. They do have a full hand of cards and 5 untapped mana, but let's see, right? Mizzix on Emergent Ultimatum. Cast it. The wise choice would be to counter the Emergent Ultimatum so that it all goes into exile. And I have like no chance of getting it back. But they didn't do that, so we're gonna pick our 3 that we always pick. Okay, so when we do this, these will go on the stack in backwards order of the one we pick. So we actually want Brilliant Restoration to resolve last, so we'll pick it first. And then we'll pick Final Parting. And with Final Parting, we pick 2 cards from our library. We put one of them in our graveyard and one of them in our hand. So we'll pick Omniscience for the graveyard, and we will pick Solve the Equation for our hand. Okay, Omniscience on the battlefield. We will Fae of Wishes to grab an Approach of the Second Sun from our sideboard. And they concede. But at this point, we win. You know, I was turn 5. We did miss land drop. I thought our opponent was scarier than they were, but that's cool. That's fine. We'll play one more, just cause, and also because I'm back down to bronze. That's what happens. That's what happens. Obviously we are playing in bronze, like I just said, but I promise this deck actually does work in the higher ranks. I've been mythic before, or what's it called? Legendary? Mythic? Whatever. And this deck, it's on it at that point, it's not quite a 50-50, and I was mostly using like red white energy, but this deck will get you there. It'll get you through platinum and diamond. And this hand might be fine. I'm gonna bottom the discovery. Okay, we will put Invoke Justice into the graveyard, and a Pact of Negation, and we'll draw a discovery next turn. We'll cast... No, we won't. We'll just play Discovery. We do kind of need the land, so we'll take it. We would really, really like to hit either of our combo pieces. We have 2 of them. If we could get Omniscience into the graveyard, that would work fine as well, because then we could use Mizzix to get the Invoke Justice. That works, doesn't it? So we'll toss these 2. Yeah, that's something. Still need a Mizzix. That's not very good for us. Opponent looks like they might be like Golgari or Jund, mid-range, good stuff. Alright. We'll toss these. They get to exile a creature from the graveyard, or exile a card from the graveyard. That's pretty bad. But honestly, there's so many targets in the graveyard that I think it'll be alright. Obviously, the correct pick would be the Emergent Ultimatum. I thought we had an Omniscience in the graveyard. That's no good. So they do get to exile 1 more. I imagine it will be our Emergent Ultimatum, but if it's not, then we can win. It's really up to our opponent here. Whoops. Weird. They took the Invoke Justice. That's cool. That's great. Actually, that's fantastic. Don't matter. We will cast Emergent Ultimatum. Omniscience, Brilliant Restoration, Final Party. We already have the Fair Wishes and Solve the Equation, so we're guaranteed 2 casts of Approach of the Second Sun. All we need to do is stick a Omniscience on the battlefield. Opponent has no mana, nothing to activate. We win. We win. Let's just take 2. Let's just get 2. What's the harm, right? We'll grab Approach, and then Solve the Equation. We'll get the same Approach back out of our library. We cast it again, and they lose. And that's the deck, guys. That's the deck. Thank you everybody